A message for my people.
Nick Dad, baby. We the new label.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
Now this the black sheep, sticking it to him. I need a crib like I'm Gatsby.
I need it.
In hand, just understand my
Pockets that deep.
with nothing to prove. I ain't got nothing to do when they can't compete.
Yes, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum, the number one sports betting vibe on the internet. I'm your host, Nick Dais, at Nick Dais 10, as you can find me. All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. Before we get started with the show, if you haven't checked out this week's episodes, we had Maurice Clarett on Tuesday. The Maurice Clarett episode dropped. An unbelievable conversation. Really enjoyed it. Feedback's been amazing on that one. Maurice Clarett, George, actually really enjoyed that too. Did a little bit of a deep dive on his career and how his career transpired. Hell of a story. Never would have thought that I'd be text buddies and calling Maurice Clarett. And now you're going to be that too.
Oh, yeah. He just seemed so accessible. That's like one of the things that I really appreciated about him the most. Because what he does with Cam and Mace's show and how he was always sharing the clips, he's posting things that they probably don't even ask him to do, but he's just doing it because he knows what it's like to be a part of the team and what it's like to help others. And yeah, his energy is just infectious. And I can't wait to one day meet him in person and feel that energy.
Yeah. Nah, totally, man. Totally. It was a really good show. And then, over the weekend, we dropped a show with MMA fighter Jasmine Montoya. So go and check out all that stuff. Keep sharing the clips. Goes a long way. Tag us. We'll repost, or else George is going to get fired.
Yeah.
George
Come on now. Job's on the line here.
Job's on the line here, brother. Our special guest today, you guys haven't heard his voice in a little bit. He's been busy. We've been busy. But he's our guy. Allen Strk, baby, call it in. Here we go.
What's up, Allen?
Let's go. Hey, Falcons, baby. Are you back or what?
No, they're back. It's been a long time coming, but they are back.
Dude, before we're gonna spend some time on the Falcons with this segment we got planned. But first and foremost, I want to say welcome back to the show. It's been a minute. Let the people know what you've been doing, bro. What's been going on?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Hey. Merchandise.veteransminimum.com. Go over there, buy some merch, right? Allen got the merch on. I mean, come on, support the guys.
Got to do it.
Right? We're giving away free merch also. Yeah, merchandise.veteransminimum, baby. We're out here. Let's go, Allen. Let's go.
Looks good on you, dude.
We gotta represent.
Yeah, man. Man, it's been grind mode, just given that it's football season, but this is like the first time in years the Falcons have been on 3 primetime games, which I totally forgot that feeling because, as you know, in like 2017, they were pretty busy coming off the Super Bowl season. So, I was in Philly covering the Eagles game. Then they played Sunday night against the Chiefs. And then probably one of like the 7 good Thursday night football games you could think of happened last week. And it was also Matt Ryan's induction to Ring of Honor. So special things going on in Atlanta right now. I don't know how good they are necessarily, but I think this team's going to be playing competitive football in January, and I haven't been able to say that since 2018. So that's definitely been a blessing.
Yeah, no, I think as long as they keep wearing the jerseys, I think the jerseys are leading to the success, and it's something about like a fresh Kirk Cousins, like in a new environment, Kirk Cousins that he can bring it out of a team. He's been playing well.
He's been balling, bro. He's been balling, and there's definitely a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins, right? They gave him that monster contract coming off the Achilles, and then they go and they draft Michael Penix when they did. And look, bro, I said this back in January when they fired everybody, right? They fired the coach from the year before. I mean, best available job to me was Atlanta. Running back, tight end, wide receiver, a division that's kind of up for grabs, depending on how you felt about Baker. Saints, we're starting to see a little bit of a downfall, which you kind of predicted. Carolina, I seem to have been the only person that was on Carolina, and that was more so a fate of everyone else in the division. So there was a lot of excitement with Atlanta that we've been talking about. So, yeah, Kirk's been balling, dude. Kirk's been balling, and Justin Simmons definitely has to be one of the steals of free agency, getting him to come in. So Atlanta is definitely a really intriguing team this year, and Our guy Allen's been covering them since, I think. Yo, Allen, how long have you been doing this Falcon stuff, bro? Because I feel like when I first met you, you were doing it.
2015, I would say I got credentialed. The first game I ever covered actually was Falcons Giants. It was a week 2 game, and that was like one of those like King Julio games. Like, we talk about those Julio games. Like, that was one of those true Julio games. Like, I'll never forget. Ryan was about to get sacked for a safety, and he just threw it up. And Dominic Rodgers' commodity, probably in any other instance, would have picked it off. But Julio just made one of those plays that only Julio could make, and that was like the first memory I had covering the Falcons. And then, from then on, went to a couple of probably the biggest games. It was the Eagles games, whether it was the playoffs or opening night in 2018. I also covered the Sunday night game, Super Bowl rematch against the Patriots, which actually was pretty underwhelming because it was a big fog, and I could not see the second half. I had to watch on the TV, and I don't think people could really watch on TV. So I've been able to cover a couple cool primetime games, but ultimately I started in 2015.
That's sick,
bro.
Yeah, I didn't know all this. The last time I talked to Allen, it was a basketball show. So
yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, bro. I was cheesing the whole time because Allen knows this, and everyone that's been listening to the show since it started. I used to do a daily fantasy show and sports betting show called Degeneration Bets, play on words as a degenerate, obviously a wrestling fan. And Veterans Minimum used to be like a only sports show, right? And we would give our picks at the end. But over the years, as I took it over, I kind of cultivated into the kind of show that I want. But at the time, I used to do a daily fantasy show, right? Dude, I was doing like 6 podcasts a week.
Jesus.
Doing a bunch of shit, right? But I say all that because everyone knows that it was always Julio week. It was always Julio week, bro. Every week, Julio was in the lineup. One of the biggest scores of my life was the Saints-Falcons game the year the Falcons went to the Super Bowl. It was the last regular season game. It ended up being a shootout. It was like 35-34 or something, but it was a shootout. And Julio Jones wasn't expected to play because at the time, I think Atlanta had clinched the seeding, and I think he had like 5 for 120 and a touchdown, and he was like 3% ownership in daily fantasy. I won like $48,000 that weekend.
Jesus Christ.
I ran the same lineup on DraftKings and FanDuel. I stacked that game. Michael Thomas, Mark Ingram, shout out to
Michael Thomas.
Devontae Freeman was there. I had Matt Ryan running. Like, bro, it was nuts, dude. It was nuts. And what's crazy is I remember that was around the time when I got really close with Allen, and he was telling me how much that rivalry means between the Falcons and the Saints. And I was like, damn, bro, I think they're probably going to play their starters. But all signs from the media was that they're going to sit people. Allen was like, bro, they're going to play them. And then it was a shootout. That's how I got my second puppy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm glad I contribute to something so fulfilling.
Hell yeah, baby. Let's go. Julio. Long live Julio, bro. Long live Julio. Dude, I want to start the show talking about my Super Bowl pick. The New York Jets. They fire Robert Saleh as they're coming back from London. They lost in London. They fall to 2-3. Since he took over the job, they have finished 4th, 3rd, and we're 2-3 this year. He is the exact person I always reference when I say some people can't be Batman. This is the guy I'm always talking about. An unbelievable defensive coordinator with the Niners, has been on the defensive side of the ball for a very long time. The success for the Jets the last couple of years was that young defense. And then even this year, bro, the defense was playing well. Like they kept the Broncos to single digits, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And then, they shut down the Pats. I know that's not saying much, but defense wasn't the reason why the team was struggling. But he just never struck me, George, as a guy that could be a head coach. I said it on the preview show that my biggest concern for the Jets not winning the Super Bowl was him as a head coach. Imagine you're holding a Jets Super Bowl ticket, right? We talk about the holding the ticket theory, and it's the divisional round of the playoffs, and he has to go up against Harbaugh. He has to go up against, and that's John Harbaugh in Baltimore. He has to go up against Andy Reid. It's like, bro, what are we doing? The mismatch is crazy. So I'm not surprised he got fired. I read somewhere from a beat writer in New York that apparently Woody Johnson is like the NFL ambassador in London, and he had told a lot of people that if they do lose that game, they would fire him. So there was a lot of pressure on that game, and usually teams get a bye week after a London game, but we spoke about how teams don't want to have a week 6 bye. They'd rather save it for later in the year. So that's why they're playing on Monday. They actually do have an extra day to rest as opposed to if they were playing on Sunday. So basically, I know I was kind of long-winded there, but I'm not surprised. And I actually, depending on who steps in and takes over that role, I feel a little bit better about them. Alan, what do you think?
I agree. I wasn't stunned one bit. I think the Jets have been one of the most undisciplined teams under Saleh, consistently among the top teams in penalties. I think they had 5 pre-snap penalties against the Broncos. And I know that game was played in awful weather conditions, but you're the home team. You can't commit 5 pre-snap penalties. And just looking at interviews, whether it be Elijah Vera Tucker, Quincy Williams, and Garrett Wilson, they've spoken openly about how the team's very vanilla. There needs to be accountability from all angles. Like, it just seemed like things were rumbling. Even though players were reportedly shocked that he was fired, when players are speaking candidly like this about there just being a lot of disoriented messaging or vanilla play calling, which, look, we can talk about Nathaniel Hackett being arguably the worst offensive coordinator, but Saleh still has to take accountability. And I just felt always there was just undisciplined play. And even the defense, as good as it was, I never felt that they got quite on a consistent level of dominating. Granted, they were with the awful quarterback situation, but I thought that defense could even done more, and they didn't quite hit that level. So the only thing about Saleh, just I think the timing was a little harsh, coming off a London game against a Vikings team that I think is going to make a lot of teams look bad. Well, they're already making teams look bad, but that Vikings team is firing all cylinders. So I think he could have got an opportunity against Buffalo, but at the end of the day, it's just he wasn't cut out for it. And I do think they're probably regretting not making the move earlier in the year when they could have got a Mike Vrabel or even a Bill Belichick. But it's the Jets. They're known for missing on opportunities.
Yeah, I think it was like a cultural mismatch. Like, Jets football to me and Robert Saleh just never really mixed, in my opinion. And when he went over there, I almost feel like with Rodgers coming and with Nathaniel Hackett being there already, it was like things that were kind of forced into place. They're like, oh, well, we can get the best option now. So we got Saleh, then we get Hackett, then we get Rodgers, and these pieces don't really mesh. I want to ask you both a question. Do you think Nathaniel Hackett went to Woody Johnson and said, I would like to just withdraw my name from being the interim head coach? Like, I'm just going to step down now. Or do you think he, I'm saying this as a complete joke because it's like they would never have selected him, but for his own ego, do you think he went up there and was like, hey guys, I'm going to decline, even though it was never offered? What's crazy is apparently Robert Saleh wanted to try to pull the trigger in firing him before he got fired. Oh, which was really interesting. Look, man, it's been the main talking point in all of this is Aaron Rodgers and what was his decision. Does this guy have too much power? I think the answer was yes. When he first got there, all his boys signed with the Jets. Cobb, Lazard, Hackett. Yeah. And then he gets hurt. So we don't know how last year would have transpired. We'll never know. But this year, he makes some unbelievable throws where you're saying to yourself, damn, Rodgers is still him. He's still here playing at a high level. And then there's other times where all the interceptions he threw in that Vikings game were rookie mistakes. Triple coverage. Yeah. The linebacker dropping, showing and dropping. So he hasn't played a complete game at a high level, really. Against the Pats, maybe you could say that. But again, it's kind of underwhelming. I think he's already made a statement saying that he wasn't the reason why this was. Come on, man. Yeah. Let's not get crazy. He called LeBron and was like, hey, LeBron, how have you handled this the past 4 times that you've done this? Yeah. Okay. All right. Go on, Pat McAfee. Cool. Yeah. Immediately put out a statement and say you had nothing to do with it. Bet. All right. Cool. Yeah. I mean, like, come on, bro. Alan, we're soccer fans.
the manager always gets sacked. It's never the star player. It's never going to be the star quarterback. It's never going to be the star anything. It's always going to be the coach is going to be the fall guy, because it's so hard to replace a super talent as opposed to you replacing a head coach. Now, there's levels to it too, right? Andy Reid, a lot harder to replace than a Robert Saleh. But when it comes to the quarterback, and you've invested so much on the Jets either winning last year or this year, yeah, man, it's going to fall on the head coach. And it was always going to fall on the head coach. I think he was going to be let go after this year, no matter how it went, unless they won a Super Bowl. But he was the biggest red flag to why the Jets couldn't win one. And then you see now they're 2-3. And now you start looking back at the shove with Aaron Rodgers. You start looking back at a couple of different things and you say, oh, well, what Rodgers said was, man, I just beat him to it. You know, he likes to hug the guys. I try to play a joke on him. Now it's like, cat, bro.
Facts.
Cadence.
Yeah.
Did you remember the comments about the cadence where Saleh said we might need Rodgers needs to dial back a little bit on the cadence, and Rodgers said, I think our players just need to start taking accountability. And Saleh basically backtracked and said Aaron Rodgers is right. So that's another thing that probably triggering this. You know, Rodgers is very particular with his cadence. Like, that's one of the most special things about him. So when Saleh was saying we might need him to dial it back, it's like you're telling Rodgers he needs to dial back his playing style. Meanwhile, you went above and beyond to get him in. So if anything, you need to accommodate to his style, and you need to, take accountability as well. Because the Jets have a very experienced offensive line. They signed veterans. Tyron Smith, one of the best left tackles this past decade, Morgan Moses. So the fact that they were struggling to handle his cadence is just another sign. Like, this team is just so disoriented, and I don't know what they could do to rectify it. But I do think Jeff Ulbrich, who I wanted to mention, because he is the interim coach, he actually worked very closely alongside Raheem Morris when the Falcons fired Dan Quinn in 2020. So Raheem Morris was the interim coach, and Jeff Ulbrich was assistant coach and DC. So Jeff Ulbrich has experience working in an interim environment. Now, granted, these are way higher expectations. That Falcons team was 0-5 in complete shambles. Meanwhile, he's trying to make sure this team makes the playoffs. So definitely different circumstances, but Ulbrich has a lot of experience, at least in this realm, as an interim coach. And from what I gathered, he is very well respected in the locker room. So I do think them going with Ulbrich over Hackett was definitely a logical move.
Yeah, totally, man. And also, I'm a fan of, I don't want to call him a player's coach, but a lot of the players have come out and said that if anyone was going to step in, it'll be him, right? CJ Mosley said that he's been with him for a long time now and that he just gets the best out of his players. Ulbrich's unit is the second best in the NFL in yardage this season. He oversaw top 5 units each of the previous 2 seasons as well. Let's not forget, he's helped develop, why am I blanking? Sauce Gardner. The secondary, some of the young guys, Williams, Quinn and Williams. So these guys have become Michael Carter, the DB. Who else am I missing? Quincy Williams as well. Yeah.
Reed's really good.
Yeah. Reed, he's been a big focal point of that. And the players respect him. And I think if anyone was, to Allen's point, going to step in, it should be him. So I think kind of, former linebacker, maybe Dan Campbell vibes.
I mean, you hope, you pray. I mean, but that's what you thought you were going to get from Saleh, was somebody that was a little more crazy. But Saleh was the opposite of any sort of enthusiastic energy. Everything just seemed forced, bro. Like he was acting in a movie as a head coach. That's the way he acted.
That's hysterical because it's so true,
bro. He would be a lead role in whatever the next big football movie is. But yeah, Ulbrich should be good. All he literally has to do is put his hands on the wheel and not steer any direction, and this Jets team will make the playoffs. He will have walked into the best job in the offseason, right? Because what talent are you going to find like the Jets on any other teams where a coach was fired? It's just not going to exist. Now, does this motivate them and they win this week? Is that the question? What do you think, Nick?
Well, here's the thing that's interesting. For as Allen said before, the Jets have been one of the bigger disappointments for what we thought the expectations were. I was like, shit, man, I thought they might go undefeated until the bye, right? Or even after they beat they lost to San Francisco. I bet them with the Titans. I bet them with the Pats. And then I just rolled it over and I lost it with the Broncos. I was going to do that until I did lose. So despite all that, on Monday, if they beat the Bills at home as an underdog, they take first in the division. So for as bad as it's been, this team isn't 0-5. They're not 1-4. They're 2-3. And now they have a team in Buffalo that they know super well. It's in division, so that game kind of means like 1.5 games, like more importance. Mm-hmm. And they're sliding. Like Buffalo now have teams figured out Josh Allen in this offense.
Yeah.
Do they need an alpha wide receiver? Who knows? I still think that what they're doing in Buffalo with James Cook and then him spreading the ball around to all the different guys, I like it. Now, is it a lot on Josh Allen's plate? Sure, but I also think their defense isn't as good as it once was. And despite for as bad as it's been, and wasn't your Monday winner the Jets?
It was. And that was like the thing that I had to come clear up here because I really, it was before we knew that what happened. So, no, like I don't think that they are able to rally it back this week just because of how much of a effect Aaron Rodgers plays on all this. And if Aaron Rodgers gets pressured early, which if I'm Sean McDermott, I am dialing up heat on 60% of the snaps. Like I'm going to make Rodgers feel me. And I think that the Bills should run away with it now. As crazy as that sounds, that's the difference that firing makes, in my opinion.
Allen, your thoughts?
The Jets notoriously played really well against Josh Allen. Let's not forget that 3 interception game last year. Allen looked all over the place. And I do think there's legitimate concerns about this Bills receiving corps when they're going against good defenses. You saw against Baltimore, you saw against Houston. They just don't have the guys. Like, they really need Khalil Shakir to be healthy because Khalil Shakir is the one player that could get separation. I think Keon Coleman's a good option, but if he's getting more than 4 targets, I don't know if he can handle more just because he's so consistent. But the Bills definitely need more on the outside because I think they struggle against good defenses, and we know the Bills' defense is just not the same without Matt Milano. So I do think it's a good matchup for the Jets, but I hope they can get back to running the ball because I think that's what's being lost in this as well. Like, Breece Hall and Brown Allen should be one of the best tandems in the league. Like, Brown Allen's a legit stud. Like, he could make a huge difference. So I think if they could actually run the ball against a Bills front that's very vulnerable, I think it'd go a long way to beat him. But no, I think the Jets could absolutely beat the Bills. The Bills look very vulnerable right now. And I think they actually need, we're talking about needing that alpha receiver. I do think they should be more aggressive in pursuing a Devontae Adams.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be extremely interesting to see the way this is the first 2 drives. So an offensive drive and a defensive drive will tell me all I need to know, just the way the players are reacting and responding, whether or not this is going to be a runaway or not. I guess I don't know if you wanted to keep on this, but do you think that the Jets players are going to be playing more motivated because they're like, dude, Saleh was our guy, F the owners? Or do you think it doesn't make a difference to them?
Maybe Rodgers will play better.
To stick it.
If Rodgers comes out and throws 4 touchdowns and just lights it up and throws for 250 yards, then yeah. And listen, bro, I was saying this when Minty was on the show with us. Shouts to Minty Betts. I saw her yesterday at the Apex. She said that she really enjoyed the show that we did with her.
Nice.
I told her, I was like, yo, I need Rodgers to come out and like bring back pandemic Rodgers with all the crazy shit he was saying. The FU Rodgers year, they drafted Jordan Love. You guys drafted Jordan Love because I'm lost? All right, here's back-to-back MVPs now. And maybe this is the thing that kind of lights up and they go on that run into the bye week that I thought they would go on initially. And you look at the schedule, it was not that difficult, man. This was the game that was going to be one of the harder games on the schedule before the bye week. Obviously, the week 1 against the Niners, then this one, but it is at home. And then it was that weird Sunday night football game against the Steelers that I was worried about. Outside of that, the schedule was pretty favorable. And if Rodgers comes out Monday Night Football, which I fully expect him to do because he's a spiteful bastard And he's shown us that his whole career. I think he goes out there, he lights it up, they win. And then the reports are going to come out like, oh, the locker room feels better. The vibes are up. Deja vu. I played this team last year and I got hurt, and now I come out and I throw for 4 touchdowns. That's what I think happens, because he's one of those guys. And to Allen's point, I think now they go back to, hey, you know what, Breece Hall, let's keep feeding him and Allen, who's the youngest player in the NFL. And there's times where I'm watching him because I have him on my fantasy team. I'm like, yeah, he might be better than Breece Hall, who was going 2nd overall in fantasy. So I think they go back, they establish the run, and I think Rodgers is going to have a monster game on Monday, because everything that this dude has shown us his whole career is he loves poking the bear with the media. And I think he comes out now after Saleh's been fired and he lights it up.
All right. We'll see. We'll see. Because in the NFL, if you're an old superstar and you suck at the quarterback position, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You can't hide like LeBron James does on defense and fucking put up a measly 22 on a primetime game and get away with it. If he's bad, this is the end of the road for Rodgers. But we'll see.
Measly 22. Dang, that's harsh.
I know. But look, come on, it's LeBron, greatest of all time. Or are we not going to put up 30 every game?
Yeah.
On prime time? Come on now. You only got 22 because the last 4 minutes they stopped playing defense because you were losing by 20.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the Lakers are going to do that well this year, but we'll save that from when we get a special guest on the show to talk some basketball. Allen, I want to pivot over to a segment called You In or Nah? Basically, we have a list of a couple of teams, and I want to kind of have a general conversation on these teams. Basically, are you in on them? Do you think that they're going to be good this year? Do you think that most of these teams, with the exception of one, is below 500? And I think all of these teams, I'm like halfway in, halfway out, kind of. And I want to start with my team.
Ooh.
I might be back.
You should be. I'm just kidding. No, tell me why.
Oh, you don't think so? All right, so here's the thing, right? The New York Giants. I might be back, ladies and gentlemen. And I know I've dumped on them, but I've always said, if you're my people or you're my teams, I'm allowed to do so. I don't want others to do so.
Right.
But if you're mine, I could do it. The Vikings loss that everyone properly reacted to, because it looked horrible. Daniel Jones threw a pick 6. It was just bad. It was the home opener. It looked ugly. And then you parlay that with Saquon running for 3 touchdowns a couple days before. It looks bad. That loss hasn't aged badly because the Vikings and the Chiefs are the only undefeated teams in the league. So that loss isn't as bad. I think the win that they had in Seattle, an amazing win with no Neighbors, no Singletary. That's a monster win there. And, Daniel Jones, bro, he's playing better than a lot of his peers. And I think no one has that conversation because it's Daniel Jones. He's a punching bag. He's kind of a dweeb.
Yeah.
And, he's playing better than Jalen Hurts in division. Mm-hmm. He's playing better than Trevor Lawrence, who just got paid. And these are the guys that he's kind of grouped with, like that 2018 to 2022 class. He's playing good this year. He's not the reason why they're struggling. Their defense can't make many stops, and the offensive line, it's improved, but it's still not great. And I think the Giants, man, this game this week is going to tell me a lot because they're coming off a monster win on the road against Seattle, and now they play the Bengals at home on Sunday Night Football. Allen, I'm kind of in, bro. Am I bugging or not?
I'm happy you're enthusiastic, but I'm not seeing it at all. I think the Seattle game was a very favorable matchup for them in that Seattle kind of played into their hands. Like, this is a wild stat. So Geno Smith had 50 dropbacks, and they only used play action 5 times. Like, Seattle completely just did not want to run the ball, which is mind-boggling when you have one of the most electrifying running backs league in Kenneth Walker. I think Ryan Grubb is still kind of acclimating to the pros. So they already have a shaky offensive line. And say what you want about the Giants, but they invested very well in the defensive line. Like, I think Dexter Lawrence is one of the best elite players in the sport. I don't care what the position is. There aren't many players as dominant as him. And then you have Thibodeau and Burns. the Seattle kind of played into Giants' hands, and Giants completely owned the line of scrimmage. But credit to them offensively. Without Neighbors, fantastic game plan. Brian Daboll is still showing that he's one of the better offensive minds in the league. So they have pieces there. My issue is just Thibodeau just had wrist surgery. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. They don't have a lot of defensive line depth. We know how sketchy the secondary is. And look, there's still limitations with Daniel Jones. I thought he played pretty poorly against Dallas. You mentioned that.
Fair. Yep.
Yeah, like a lot of missed throws, and he's still granted, he threw a great deep ball at Slayton. Nice little go ball. I'll give him that, but still the deep ball accuracy is still a problem. And it's just, I don't know, like we love Neighbors, but we've seen receivers in the past, if they get more than like 180 targets in a season, they're not quite the same. Like Cooper Kupp hasn't been the same since that 2021 year. Calvin Johnson kind of broke down. I hope they find a way to at least kind of navigate where it's like, okay, we can't give Neighbors like 16 to 18 targets a game because it could wear on him. So I like Daboll and I like the piece on the roster, but it's just, I don't think what they're doing is sustainable. And I think Thibodeau's going to be a bigger loss than people think just because they don't have a lot of defensive line depth. So no, I'm not in on the Giants at all.
So high level point about the game he played on Thursday Night Football against the Cowboys. That's a game that they should have won. He missed a lot of throws. They should have beat Washington if their kicker doesn't get hurt. And also that organization, bro, how do you just have one kicker? Especially when the guy going into it was kind of, like hobbled.
We saw the 49ers this past weekend.
Yeah, same thing with them. Like, I think they're playing better. And I think the stigma on the Giants, and look, I've been leading the charge too. I've been dumping on them. I think they're playing better than what people think. And Daniel Jones, 6 touchdowns to 3 interceptions on the year. And I think this team should be 3-2 as opposed to 2-3. I know it's a 1-game swing, but it's massive, right? Like if they're 3-2 right now, George, we're having a different combo.
And I also think if you play the Vikings now as opposed to week 1, now that this team's had a little bit of time to gel, like that game could be closer than what it could be.
Sure, but we always talk about, in the NFL, it's really interesting because we call it the WTF loss. We're like, how the fuck did they, like, the Ravens haven't lost since they lost to the Raiders. Like, that shit looks awful. Like, yo, how the fuck did the Ravens lose to the Raiders? Imagine if the Raiders end up going like 5-12, but then the Ravens go 13-4. You're like, damn. So there's always like 5 or 6 of them in the league. But the other way around is, all right, that loss at the time, we thought, yo, Minnesota, all the red flags, it's an awful loss. Now you're looking at it like, yo, no, it wasn't that bad. They made a lot of people look stupid. CJ Stroud looks stupid. The Niners look stupid. What they did to Rodgers. Like, this team is good now. 5 weeks ago, we didn't know that. So I just wanted to defend the Giants. I think I'm a little in. I'm back in on the Giants. I want to see them this week. They're playing a primetime game at home against the Bengals, who, shit, bro, you talk about must win for them. Mm-hmm. They let that game go against the Commanders. They let that game go against the Pats. They've lost by a combined 15 points this season. And that game against the Bengals, I had them -2.5. They were catching 2.5. I was like, oh, this shit is a lock. And then everything transpired. So I want to see the Giants this week because, to Allen's point, Thibodeau's might be out. Who knows what's happening with Neighbors. And you got this Bengals team that's like, yo, bro, we can't afford to lose. And that line is very suspect. It's been 3.5 all week. Stay the fuck away from that shit.
Malik Neighbors highlight play, one-handed. It's time to relive the Odell days. That's what I'm predicting. Teams tend to follow highlight patterns, so expect it. Maybe it's across the middle this time to win the game on some Ryan Williams shit.
Do you on the Giants?
I'm like in between, man. Like they're an organization that, you know, being a friend with Nick, I've learned that why buy into them. And, you know, these wins that they've had these past couple of weeks, and from Nick teaching me, it's the type of wins that you're like, at the end of the year, when we don't get the number 1 pick and we get the number 9 pick, all you people that were fucking happy early on, you know, are you happy now that we're going to?
Yeah, right. There it is.
Yeah. Some DeVito love.
That's what they wanted.
So
enjoy it now.
Here's the thing.
Could have had Jaden Daniels. Oh, you seen the video of Joe Schoen's son telling him who to draft. And he said, yo, trade up and get Jaden Daniels. And his kid even told him, yo, bro, you might not be around for too long if you don't make this pick. You just lost Saquon. It's not going to age well. Take him. And, yo, Jaden Daniels, I think, was my favorite quarterback prospect of all of them. I didn't expect this. I don't think anyone did, bro. He's 6th in MVP now. It's crazy what he's doing in Washington. And fuck, the kid was right. The kid was right. So I'm fascinated by this game, man. It's one of the more compelling games for me. I know I'm a Giants fan, but I've also been staring at the Bengals 40-1 to win the Super Bowl. Could it be our dear Buffalo? Is it dear Cincy now? Who knows? So this game,
don't do it.
This game's don't do it. Yeah, the schedule is pretty.
Watch the defense, don't do it.
Yeah, yo, our boy Lou, bro. We always said it's the Wu-Tang Clan, and it's Sweet Lou, the defensive coordinator. And he's letting us down. The only cool shit from Staten Island, bro.
Lou, he didn't know that the team was not going to re-sign Jesse Bates. I think they have not recovered from losing Jesse Bates. When you watch Jesse Bates play, Cincy fans are just like, why?
Did we lose him?
No.
Oh. I thought he just abruptly stopped, and I got thrown off.
Why?
Yeah. All right. Next team, Denver Broncos. Yo, Denver 0-2. Now they've won 3 in a row. They have 16-1 odds to win the division. I'm not going to go that crazy. I just stole George's notes as I was looking at it over here. George still has a lot to learn, ladies and gentlemen.
What do I have to learn? That Bo Nix looks just like Drew Brees and that Sean Payton fucking found the missing puzzle piece for Denver? Oh, sorry. I've seen this play out before, Nick.
I'm just saying that they're in the same division with the Chiefs, bro. Let's not get crazy. We get cute in other places in the NFL with the division stuff, right?
I'm getting cute with the AFC West this year, man. I'm sick and tired of these Chiefs fucking ruining this division.
Well, they're doing what Philly did last year. Remember how Philly was undefeated, but everyone kept saying that they haven't played a great game yet?
Yeah.
And then you look at the Chiefs, they really haven't played an excellent game yet. And you can make a case that they should be 2-3 instead of 5-0. I think eventually what's happening with the Chiefs and these receivers, there's a term in sports betting, I've referenced it in the past, it's called cluster injuries. That's when one positional unit suffers more than 2 injuries. Wide receiver room is getting decimated, especially when you look at what they came into the year with like Tony, and then who knew what was going to happen with Rashid Rice, and then he gets banged up. They bring in Juju basically off the couch. Xavier Worthy, rookie, he's contributing. Kelsey has kind of declined a little bit. They're not utilizing him like they once did, but they're still 5-0. Right? They're getting it done because if it's a 1-possession game and you have 15, he'll figure out some shit. And that's what's happening. So despite all that, they're still 5-0. And I think I would just look elsewhere for a long shot division bet. But with the Broncos, dude, I feel like their defense has been so underrated the last couple of years just because the offense has looked so bad. And they're winning these games with the defense, and Bo Nix now getting more comfortable, to your point.
With a 5-yard drag.
Yeah.
Right over the top. Crossers all day.
Crossers all day.
And then he get good at throwing the ball deep eventually. But
so why do you like the Broncos? Why are you in on the Broncos?
I just know what Sean Payton can do with a quarterback. And that is make games competitive. And back when the Saints won the Super Bowl, it was one of the best defenses we've ever had as well. So I'm starting to see everything come together in Denver. Not to mention, and this has been one of the things that's like kind of fallen by the wayside with Denver, it is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. So that last game, and I'm talking about them to win the division here, they play week 18 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Mile High. I'm just saying the Chiefs will falter at a certain point in time. This division could be a close race at the end. And if the Broncos keep playing the way that they should, they see KC November 10th at KC. They got Baltimore before that. What a tough row. At Baltimore, at KC. But I've bought into the team. I've bought into them.
Alan, what do you think of the Denver Broncos?
Wow. So they got to play the Ravens and the Chiefs. Does Bo Nix throw for 100 yards in either of those games? I don't know. I applaud what Sean Payton's doing, but I'm totally out on the Broncos. Bo Nix, no, it's not there right now. He's still someone that's still developing. Like, you can only rely so much on these short to intermediate throws. He can't push the ball downfield. They don't have many weapons. I love what they're doing defensively. It's good to see Surtain getting his recognition as the best cornerback in the league. I think they have a cool front. Like, Zach Allen's been one of the breakout stars this year, and guys like Nick Bonito and Brandon Browning, but it's just they're too limited offensively. I know the AFC is much weaker this year, but it's just you need more from the quarterback and you need more skill position players, and they just don't have it. And as much as you look, there's no denying what Sean Payton's doing. He did a great job last year, and he's doing a fantastic job this year. But it's in a quarterback conference, you're going to need more, and Bo Nix has showed little to nothing so far.
The first 2 games, 2 interceptions, and both the losses. Since then, not a single interception, 3 touchdowns, and the 3 wins. So
he had like negative 8 yards against the Jets in the first half.
It was raining. It was blowing sideways. Okay, Aaron Rodgers was playing like shit too. So like, I'm fine with that. I've seen quarterbacks have shitty games inside MetLife. So
shit, I have too, bro.
It's a difficult place to play.
You're giving Nick a layup there.
Yo, when I tell you there's not a stadium I hate more than MetLife Stadium. I'm not even talking about the ACLs and all the injuries with the turf. The World Cup final is going to be there. Wait until those teams come over and have to play on that shit. Of all the new stadiums that have been built, and everyone within the first 5 years, if you get a new stadium, you get a Super Bowl. One of the worst Super Bowls of all time. It snowed that week in New York. It's fucking like less than 30 degrees in New York City. It sucked. The game sucked also. But if you play Madden and you get franchise mode, you know the stadium they give you, the generic default stadium, and then from there you customize it? It's MetLife Stadium. There's not a cool feature. It just looks like a giant piece of metal. There's no Jumbotron. There's no
bad for the win.
There's no pool. All right, like why the fuck would you put a pool there in Jersey? But I'm saying like there's no cool attraction to it, bro. SoFi has like $1 billion Jumbotron in it. And MetLife got built in like what, 2009, 2010? Wackest stadium ever. I fucking hate that stadium. It sucks.
Going in right now.
Just hate it. I hate it, bro.
Catering is always underwhelming. The catering is never good there for the media, so they can step their game up.
Bro, all the traffic when you leave MetLife, no matter what the event is, it's just hell. You got to go through one. It's 2 ways out, but it's one way to take you up towards Jersey, and the other way is to take you to the Lincoln Tunnel and the George Washington Bridge. And it's just like traffic upon traffic upon traffic. Stadium sucks. State sucks. Turf sucks. I'm not a fan of MetLife Stadium if you've been listening for the last 90 seconds. I want to move on to it. What's up?
How you feel with the Broncos?
I said I like their defense. I think Sean Payton, I'm trusting Sean Payton. They're on a little winning streak right now. I'm not ready to call Bo Nix the next Drew Brees, but I would like if they had another weapon on offense. I think offensively, maybe that's one of the reasons why they're not opening up the playbook also. But I think the core of this team and the strength of this team is the defense. And look, they were a team that was heavily wagered by a lot of people, professionals here in Vegas, as a team to buy in on from a win total standpoint. One of those missed the playoffs to make the playoffs because there was a lot of hype, obviously, about the Chiefs, and there was a lot of hype about the Chargers with Harbaugh going there. So this was a team that a lot of pros were on. I think they're just going to play ugly games week in, week out, and try to have Sean Payton scheme up a win for them and tell Bo Nix, like, yo, bro,
take care of the ball.
That's
all you got to do.
Just take care of the rock and let us try to win those 17-14, those 20-14 games. So I'm not going crazy with them winning the division, but I think the AFC, some of the teams that we thought were going to be good are not, especially from a record standpoint. And yeah, man, maybe 9-8 could get you into the playoffs in the AFC, where we thought you had to be minimum 10-7, and then maybe that might even be an issue. So that's kind of how I feel about Denver. Staying with the West Coast theme, though, a team I kind of want to bet on for the division.
Say it.
The Cardinals. Bro, the Cardinals, man, when Kyler Murray is on and he's healthy, he got to be a nightmare to try to defend, dude. he got to be a nightmare. And especially now with how they're playing offense over there, and they got Connor, they got McBride, they got Dortch, they got obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. They have some weapons there. And then when he's running too, like, he's such a tough matchup for people and a tough person to defend. I just think that they're going to always play in high scoring games. And if he does find his day, I think this is a team of all the teams that we listed that I would be in on to win the division, because Seattle now is on a 2-game losing streak. They play the Niners on Thursday, depending on when you hear this tonight. And then the Niners, I think, have a lot of red flags. And then the other team in the division was the one I spoke with Dave Ross last week about, like, yo, watch out for the Rams, bro. Rams are going to get Puka and Cup back later. They're going to be a bitch to play in the tail end of the season. So I'm looking at the Cardinals as a team that if Kyler Murray could stay healthy, another one that the pros really liked out here in the NFC, I'm kind of in on the Cardinals. What do you think, Allen?
Yeah,
I think they're still a year away. Unfortunately, that defense is one of the worst in the league. And as impressive as it was that Niners win it's hard not to say the Niners gave them that game between the deflected interception, the fumble in the red zone. There were just some freak plays there. Like, phenomenal throw by Murray on 4th down, but how many times do you see that be converted? Like, I think the issue with the Cardinals is that Kyler is so volatile. Like, there's one game where he's lights out, and then the next game it's just 2 interceptions. He missed a couple receivers. He's not going through his progressions properly. He's running into sacks. I just think the team's too inconsistent. They're too young. As much as I love their talent and their coaching staff, I don't think they're that ahead of schedule yet. Like, this was always going to be a 3-year rebuild, and I still think they're in it. As vulnerable as the NFC West is, it's still the Niners division to me.
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's definitely way more compelling than what I was saying before. With the last team we were just talking about, who the hell were we just talking
Broncos.
about? The Broncos. How great would it be to see this connection with Marvin Harrison like really blossom and open up into like what we think it's capable of? And that's what you have to invest yourselves in with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not buying into them just because they got a bit of a tough slate, having to go to Green Bay, and then it's just the cross country travel with them. If they don't start getting some wins soon, it's going to be rough for them. I'm not buying into the Cardinals this year. There's nothing that's stood out to me in these first 5 weeks that is as a buy signal.
And also to your point about, well, both of you, how the Cardinals are kind of a year away. Bro, Kyler Murray don't make it through 17 games. So it's unfortunate. I remember Allen and I were doing the show. His second year, he was my MVP pick. When he did the Hail Murray against the Bills, he actually was at a pick'em to win MVP, and I had him at 35-1. I had actually bet it that year. That was where you were starting to see a lot of second-year quarterbacks either winning MVP or becoming finalists, being in the conversation. So I was just blindly betting for about 4 or 5 years, second year, until the odds got ridiculous. Like this year, CJ Stroud 8-1. I was like, nah, I can't bet that. If he was 50-1, yeah, I'd be in. But there was a lot of hype with them. So yeah, Kyler Murray, that's another one. You got to just expect him to kind of fall off, unfortunately. And we're not wishing injury on anyone ever, but this is just what you've shown, right? Like, I'm a Knicks fan. I like OG Anunoby. But guys, I think he's only played more than 62 games once. They just gave him 200 million plus. That's a concern. You need to be available to be playing week in, week out, night in, night out. And that's the risk that you take. And that's the risk you kind of take here with the Cardinals if you do buy stock on them. So it's going to be fun. I just think that they're like a Sunday ticket team.
They're fun.
Yeah,
Bet
they're
the
fun.
over. Bet the over.
Agreed. Good call.
The over is 4-1 on the year. We've been on it twice. The one time that they didn't get to the over was when the Lions and Cardinals played, and they picked up the fumble, the picks, the fumble 6. They overturned it. That would have hit the over. So yeah, man, let us know what you guys think. Cardinals, Broncos, Giants. How do you guys feel about these teams? Are you in? Are you out? Are you like George and Allen, where you think that you're a year away on the Cardinals? We'll see. But I do think the Cardinals, of all the bunch, are the team that I'd probably bet on. and I think is the most compelling. Allen,
Make your money on the Broncos. 16-1. Come on.
16-1. Yeah, why not? We spent money worse. Money worse. Yo, Allen, this was fun to reconnect, bro. We got to let you go because we have some time restraints over here. But it was fun having you on. I'm sure this won't be the last time that we have you on. We'll try to coordinate something in a couple of weeks. Maybe do like a mid-season recap. Maybe in 2 or 3 weeks. We'll figure it out. But let the people know what you're working on and where they can find you.
Allen Strk, that's ALLENSTRK. Right now, I'm doing post-game shows for the Falcoholic and just weekly articles, whether it be interviews or doing analysis pieces. It's that time of year where you're just always reacting to games, but also doing previews as well. So you can always check out my content. Allen Strk, ALLENSTRK, and fingers crossed, I will be in Vegas in December because the Falcons are playing the Raiders on Monday night, which is probably a Monday night game no one will be looking forward to. But if it gets me to Vegas, I think the listeners could be very excited about that.
Hell yeah, bro. You got to let me know if that does happen because we might have to tell Jeremiah in advance to maybe record on Sunday or something that week.
That'd be sick.
Since he'll be going to the Raiders and Falcons game. But yo, Allen, it was great to reconnect. A lot of the fans always ask about you and where you've been at. So big ups to Allen. And also big ups to the members of the Patreon, baby. Patreon.com/veterans minimum. Remember, for the month of October, we are giving away a Maurice Clarett autographed Ohio State helmet. Maurice is going to sign one for us two. And then the third one we're going to give away to a member of the Patreon. We got Daniel Gibson, Mahul Patel, Abel Rezin, Ben Kotzian, Christopher Velasquez, Derek Platees, Dylan Chadwick, Jerry Shapiro, Jordan Riley, Mike Stevens, Nick Crummich, and Thomas Robinson. Thank you all for your contributions to the Patreon. Due to the time restraints here in the studio, we'll get to the fan question on Monday. We got a really dope fan question. We need to wrap with the picks.
Boom.
Got to do the
This is what the people want.
This is what the people want.
I really do. Nick, I have to tell you, I love our pick format because
Isn't it cool?
It is because it's not just like all right, pick an over and under, find it. Like these are logical things that present themselves every single week. You can find a toxic line. You could find that one ugly pick that you're just like, I don't know why I like it. You could find your favorite one, obviously. It's just the perfect mix.
Yeah, and also, again, some of the best decisions you make in sports betting are the bets that you don't place. That's what the toxic one is, right? The toxic one, we're not telling you to take one side or another. We're saying you should just pass, right? And it's 4-1 on the year. Just stay away from it. It's 4-0 because we said the Bills and the Texans game as a whole was a toxic one, and it was, right? Like that was a roller coaster of emotions in that game. So it's cool how people in the Discord, bro, or even in the Instagram DMs, they'll be like, bro, Pat's game, Ursolita, right? Or they'll be like, yo, this one's going to be a toxic one.
Right.
And I like that because that's the whole plan of the show. Like it's not only the wins and the losses, it's also, you know what? I shouldn't bet that. Maybe I should wait to bet that.
Yeah.
Maybe the Jets, we do get a +3. Don't bet them now. And the Jets, for me, is in this economy, right? +2.5. I think there's so much nonsense around them. I like the Jets this week. I know they were your Monday winner before everything that transpired. I think this line should be a pick 'em, truthfully. So in this economy, you're getting 2.5 points in division at home, Monday Night Football. Just fired the coach. Rodgers is going to go out there, throw 4 touchdowns. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bet Rodgers to throw. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. Aaron Rodgers, total touchdown passes over 2.5. That's what we're going to take. Maybe we could do that. We could do a Jets money line. Rodgers over 2.5 touchdown passes. Little correlation parlay. That is the in this economy play of week 6. Aaron Rodgers to throw over 2.5 touchdown passes, and then the Jets to win outright. Keep the points. We're taking the money line, baby.
In this economy, Nick, it's crazy that you could get that, but it's also crazy that you can ride the hype train of the Commanders right now as they are getting 6.5 points against the Ravens this upcoming weekend. I don't just like the Commanders in this spot. I love the Commanders in this spot. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm wrong and I miss, and it's because Jaden Daniels doesn't play well and he's coming back off of this riding high, I mean, I'll take that loss, but I'm not going to miss it this week. Give me the Commanders money line. I'm seeing them at like +3 or 230 at some places. Get that. Get a part of this Jaden Daniels hype train, bro.
Ooh, so I'll tell you this. I'm not opposed. However, you know what I do like more in that game? I like the over.
What is it? 49?
The over is 47.5.
Okay.
And I like it a lot. And here's why. I think you can move the ball on both teams. I think Lamar and Jaden Daniels are going to have monster games. I think there's a little bit of the future meets the present kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because Lamar's still young. Lamar, I think, is 26, 27.
27.
He's still young. And like Jaden Daniels is the rookie in the league, and he's like the new hot toy, the new chick in school kind of thing. And I like the over, man. I think they'll be able to move on both of them. From a betting standpoint, Ravens opened up as 9-point favorites. Now it's down to 6.5. So I would be very, very careful. But I do like the 47.5 to the over in that game. That is actually my Adriana.
Ooh.
The over in that game is my Adriana. So just picking up off what you just said. So for the reasons that I mentioned, that's Adriana.
I love it.
Toxic one, Bengals Giants. Can't do it. That line it's sketchy. It's 3.5. Usually I would lean towards the Sunday Night Football dog at home, catching the 3.5. But it's a really weird game, man. The Giants are coming off a monster win on the road that no one expected. These guys are all out. I think you could pass on the Giants. I think Burrow has another monster game. Joe Burrow is currently 20-1 to win MVP, and they're 1-4. So he's having a monster season. We highlighted that on the show with Maurice, that he's playing really, really well. Arguably the best season statistically of his career through 5 weeks, but they're 1-4. Football is really dumb because if the ball bounces a different way for them, then maybe they're 4-1 as opposed to 1-4. So for me, the toxic one, stay away from that Bengals game. It's very, very suspicious. And I also think Daniel Jones could have some success against that defense. So the toxic one for me, Bengals -3.5, that Sunday Night Football game.
Toxic one for me is the Falcons being 6-point favorites against the Panthers. It just shouts an in-division matchup that, you know, the Falcons, they can look good at points in time, but I think the Panthers, you know, bro, the thing you got to love about the NFL is that in any given week, these teams can play and outperform what the public thinks. I think that's what the Panthers do this upcoming week. Give me the Panthers and that matchup. Stay away from the Falcons. That's my toxic one.
Can I tell you one quick tidbit here?
Yeah.
The Falcons have lost 2 straight games on the road in Carolina leading into this one.
See, it's just something, right?
They haven't lost 3 straight on the road in Carolina since 1995 and 1997.
Stay away from it. I don't think they're getting the 6. 6 is a lot of points for a team that has 1 rushing touchdown. I meant to add that when Allen was here earlier. It's crazy. You got Bijan Robinson and you have 1 rushing touchdown on the year.
Falcons are 3-10 against the spread in their last 13 games after a straight up win against the spread, covering in consecutive games. So they've covered back-to-back games against the spread. They're then 3-10 in that third game when that happens since since the last 13 games.
I like what you're doing here. You're finding things that make me sound smart. My Adriana, Buccaneers -2.5. I don't need any stats. I think this line might have bumped up to 3.5 now that Spencer Rattler was announced the quarterback for the Saints. It's a hurricane game. Okay. The Saints know about hurricane games, and the Saints currently have a hurricane going on in their organization. Derek Carr, he's out. They play Hainer last week. Now Spencer Rattler is going to get the starts. This is all part of the plan, Nick. I told you at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
All 3 of these quarterbacks would play. and we are in week 6, and all 3 quarterbacks will have played. Give me the Buccaneers -2.5. That is the easiest lock of the week. Mike Evans even said they're playing for something bigger than themselves this week.
I like it, bro. They got extra time to prepare. They're coming off a loss, heartbreaking loss where Baker had a monster game. I don't want to say a career game, but it was close enough to be basically a career game. I like that one, man. I like that one. The Ursolita was also my Monday winner. Jaguars. The Jaguars are going to London. When they go to London, they win. They should just stay out there. Like the Jaguars +2.5. They're playing a rookie quarterback traveling overseas for the first time. And who knows how that's going to be for him. He's coming off a monster game. Maybe it's a letdown. Jaguars coming off their first win, and now they're going to the place that they always play really well. Give me the Jaguars. Ursolita +2.5. It was also my Monday winner.
Ursolita for me is going to be the Jets.
Ooh, I like that.
I know. It went from Monday winner to then I was literally before this podcast started, I was like, do I buy into the Jets here? I'm buying into the Jets. This is finally what Aaron Rodgers wanted. He finally wanted to be the Jackie Moon of the NFL. Woody Johnson, you're next, dude. You thought Aaron Rodgers was playing cool with you and you guys can get Saleh fired and it's all hunky-dory. But no, Woody Johnson, I know you own the team. Aaron Rodgers will be the next owner of the Jets. He'll be the owner, he will be the coach, and he will be the superstar player.
Before we wrap, let's do our week 6 picks just for social and for everyone that might have missed it because we do be yapping in between all the picks. Adriana is Commanders, Ravens over 47.5. The toxic one is the Bengals -3.5. In this economy, the Jets +2.5 with Aaron Rodgers throwing over 2.5 touchdowns. Jaguars +2.5 is my Ursolita. And what do you got?
My Ursolita is going to be the Jets money line. In this economy, Commanders money line. I'm liking a lot of dogs this week. Trust me, Raiders.
Trust me. I didn't get my trust me, but go on.
Raiders money line. They're the ultimate zigzag team. Lost last week. They're going to bounce back win this week. Toxic one, the Falcons, -6 on the road. Stay away from that. Adriana, the Hurricane game. Bucks, alternate line. I'll do this. Bucks -7.5. That'll make you some money. You parlay all those, you're making a lot of money this weekend.
The trust me one for me is the Cowboys +3.
Safe.
I like that one. I like the Cowboys as an underdog at home. As a favorite,
right.
As an underdog at home, I like them going up against the Lions. So I'll take that one. Trust me, Cowboys +3. There you have it.
That is it.
All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. As far as I go, it's at Nick Dais 10 on all social media. George, where can they find you?
You can find me at Mr. George Carmona on all social media platforms. New episode of Pin and Pool is out now. Me and my brother talked about storming the field. It's a great episode. Put a lot of TLC into it. So check it out. You'll feel like you had stormed the field with us if you watched it. All right.
Have you put up a social clip of that yet?
No, I actually have an editor now that is making me look at me. Nice. Look at me growing up, bro. Look
at a real man. I like this. Good. That makes you happy,
good.
Bro.
Not doing work.
Let's do this. Have that clip collab with VM since we talked about it so people could also see that. Whatever clip you do put. So then you guys will be able to have access to that. So, yeah, man. Follow us, like, subscribe, rate, review, comment, the whole nine. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, patreon.com/Veterans Minimum. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
In his element, I'm a gold medalist, bronze like your medal is. So many deer in headlights, but it's bedtime. Hear that supper bell, main course, be the venison.
Dab. Most dangerous game. Either kill or be killed.